Hello pretty peoples, Kawajapa no Kyodori desu. Today we are going to talk about da or des. This is one of the most basic things in Japanese that you encounter from the very first lesson. But I have found people at N3 level and above making mistakes in interpreting sentences because they have not fully grasped the meaning and nature of da or des. This tends to happen as sentences become more complex, so it's a good idea to get a firm understanding of what da or des really is from the beginning. So, what is da or des? Some of the textbooks will quite rightly tell you that da des is the copula. However, since there is no dedicated copula in English, a lot of people don't find that explanation very helpful. What is a copula? Well, copula is a Latin word that is very closely related to the English word couple. We can say that the copula da des is a coupler. That is exactly what it does. It couples two things. And when you've said that, you've really defined it. It can't couple more than two things. That's what couple means, isn't it? Two. And they have to be things. In other words, they have to be nouns. You can't use the copula to couple verbs or adjectives or anything else. The only thing it can ever do is couple two nouns. Now, what do we mean by coupling? I often say that da des is the equal sign. A, B, da or A, B, des means A equals B. And we've seen that at work, haven't we, in all kinds of basic sentences. Sakura wa Nihonjin desu. Sakura is a Japanese person. Sakura wa kirei desu. Sakura is pretty. Kirei, of course, is what is called a na adjective, and as I've explained in my video on adjectives, na adjectives are nouns. So in all cases, what des or da is doing is coupling two nouns together and saying that they equal each other, that they are the same. And this is very important because there are only two kinds of sentence. Not just in Japanese, in any language, there are only two kinds of sentence. Every basic core sentence says one of two things. It either says A does B or A is B. And the copula is that is. Copula sentences, da des sentences are always A is B sentences. Sakura ga aruku, Sakura walks, that is an A does B sentence. Sakura ga onna no ko desu, Sakura is a girl, that is an A is B sentence. So the copula, the da des, is fundamental to Japanese because it makes one of the two kinds of sentence, the A is B sentence. Now, just for completeness, I should say that there are three ways a Japanese sentence can end, apart from any sentence-ending particles that may go after the true end. It can end with a verb, that is an A does B sentence. It can end with a copula, da or des, that is an A is B sentence. It can also end with what is called an E adjective, and the reason it can do that is, as I explained on our lesson about adjectives, because E adjectives contain the copula function. They contain that equal sign, that da des function within themselves. So E adjective ending sentences are the same as da des sentences. They are A is B sentences. Alright, so da des is pretty simple, isn't it? Why is it that people become confused? There are two things that can confuse people. The first is that there are some sentences in which da des is not coupling two nouns. Now, I said it can only ever couple two nouns, so was I wrong? No, the thing here is that those sentences are in fact E adjective sentences, and sometimes des, not da, is put on the end of them simply in order to make them formal, simply in order to make them desumasu sentences. So when I said that the only thing da or des can do is to couple two nouns, that was correct. It is either coupling two nouns or it is doing nothing at all. Because in E adjective sentences, if you say something like Henpitsu wa akai desu, the pencil is red, The sentence there is Enpitsu ga akai. Akai means is red. You don't need a des. The des is just there to make it formal. And luckily, since e-adjective sentences, just like da des sentences, are A is B sentences, nothing really changes. We can still say that every sentence ending in da or des is an A is B sentence. Now, this formality use of des doesn't cause specific confusion in itself. It just gives this sense that you never know exactly what's going on and that Japanese is an illogical, magical language. It isn't. It just has this little quirk of using des for politeness in the case of adjectives. What actually causes confusion is the fact that in English we don't have a dedicated copula. The copula in English is is. Sakura is Japanese. The pencil is red. However, in English, is doubles as the verb of being, which in Japanese is aru or iru. So we can also say there is a rabbit. And if we say there is a rabbit, we're not coupling the rabbit with anything. We're just saying that it exists. Des can never have that kind of meaning. So in more complicated sentences, what sometimes happens is that people will encounter a des or a da and think that perhaps what's being said is that this thing exists. Des or da can never do that. Des or da can only couple two nouns. So if we see a des or da in a complicated sentence, we have to look for the other half of the couple. And what is the other half of the couple going to be? It's going to be a noun, and it's going to be marked by ga. Now sometimes, as I've explained in my lesson about the invisible particle, sometimes you can't see that ga. For example, if I say, Kyodori desu, what I mean is watashi ga Kyodori desu. I am coupling together myself and the name Kyodori. But it's not necessary in this case to mention myself, because what else would I mean? This isn't difficult, and if you follow my other lessons, you'll quickly pick up how to identify a ga-marked subject that isn't visible. All you need to remember about da and des is that it is the copula, the coupler, the equals sign. Whenever you see a noun followed by da or des, look for the other half of the couple and you won't go wrong. Please remember that the course book for this course of lessons is Unlocking Japanese. You can get it at Amazon in Kindle or paperback editions. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments below and I will answer. これからもよろしくお願いします. Class dismissed.